You're listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. We're alive to love, and all other values are potential BS. Now here's your host, Bishop Randy Dean.
Hey there. Welcome to you all. I'm Randy Dean. I'm the No BS Bishop. I'm alive to love, and I believe all lesser values than love devolve into bait and switch. That's my BS description, and you can call BS whatever you want to, but BS to me is bait and switch, because without love, we're constantly baiting and switching, and in particular with folks of faith who bait and switch for all kinds of reasons to get people in their doors and into the pews. I won't do that. Love alone is credible. Love alone is the power by which the world changes. And so today I want to talk to you about the evolution of love. The evolution of love is where we're headed as a people of faith. And if we get stagnant, then that love is not love, because love demands to evolve. So we'll get there. But before we get to the meat of today's subject, I want to do what I do here regularly on this podcast and broadcast. And again, welcome. I am so honored that you've chosen to give me a half an hour of your life and time. I promise to treat that with respect. Now, and in order to give that respect, I want to lead you in the Lord's Prayer and then in Love's Creed, a New Year's resolution I wrote about a dozen years ago, something like that, give or take a month or two. And I wrote it for me. I have it in one of my little journals. And I never dreamed that I would be any kind of formal declaration of it. But now that I've been here for the past 7 years on this podcast, I want you to have it as well. So if you'd like a copy, you can email me at randydeanministries@gmail.com. That's all lowercase letters, all one word, randydeanministries@gmail. And it'd be my pleasure to send you a copy. All right, so let's go right to the Lord's Prayer to start with, the most prayed prayer in human history, the wisdom of God from the heart and mind of Christ, when he taught us these words. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Profound wisdom there, isn't it? Just a simple meditation, and yet deep as it is wide and tall. So pray that prayer as often as it comes to your mind. I promise you, something changes in you and around you. And speaking of something changing in you and around you, that's why I'm offering you Love's Creed. It's a means by which you can set your sail to the prevailing winds of God, because God is love and love is God. So we need to walk, I think, according to some established creed that keeps us pointed in that direction. All right, here it is in total. Then I'll go back and have you repeat after me as a vow or as a creed that you could put to your own mind and heart. Here we go. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I'm alive with plans, dreams, and designs, locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. Okay? Now, here it is in short bursts. Repeat after me, please. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs, locked into anything and everything That is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. All right, if you'd like a copy of that, as I offered you with the Lord's Prayer, send me an email at randydeanministries@gmail.com. Randy Dean Ministries, all one word, all lowercase, at Gmail. I'd be happy to send you a copy of the Lord's Prayer or Love's Creed so that you can live by a value system that's far and away above just ordinary human shenanigans, right? It calls us to think higher, think deeply, and to be people, just to be people of a true value, all right? All right, so I told you today's subject is the evolution of love. Might strike you as odd, but I do believe in evolution. I don't know how anybody can deny the power of evolution. People, human beings are taller and stronger now than they were, say, 100 years ago, even 200 years ago. There's some evolving going on in creation, and it goes to the better or to the worse, depending on how things are abused or well treated. We do evolve. There's no doubt in my mind. How do you think we'd climb on a metal tube we call a jet and then fly at 300, 400 miles per hour if we hadn't evolved? I mean, the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk with their little toy balsam wood and canvas airplane that they flew that one time, the Wright brothers would look with shock at those metal tubes sailing through the sky with 200 people on them. I mean, they would say, what is that? Well, the answer would be, well, your discovery evolved. It grew. So I'm convinced that there is an evolution regarding our faith, regarding our understanding of God, our understanding especially of love. I'm urging you to join me in the evolution of love, to take love to the next level. Now, let me get a little basis going in for all the above, a broader basis here. And let me just share this with you. I'm a great lover of and a student of the Bible. The Bible is a treasure to me. I've got more Bibles than I probably should have, but they're of sentimental value. I've got notes written in about a dozen of them that I've had over the years, and I still have the first Bible that was given to me when I was just a 6-year-old kid in 1959, and my pastor then signed it. They were just a sentimental treasure. But then I also have the first Bible my mom and dad gave me on my 16th birthday. All that to be said, if my understanding of the Bible now, 50 plus years later, is the same as it was when I was a 6-year-old kid or a 16-year-old kid, I'm telling you, there's something wrong with what's going on with me. I evolved. I have evolved. Even when I went off to a Bachelor's of Science program in ministry in college, my understanding of scriptures from that point till this has evolved. It's grown. It doesn't mean I reject the Bible. It means I see the Bible in a deeper way. Now, I'm inviting you to evolve with me. Let's evolve as relates to love. But in order to get there, let me just tell you a little bit about the Bible and why the evolution of our grasp of the Bible is important. Because the Bible was written over 1,600 years. Now, wrap your head around that. That's a long time. The writing of the Bible is gathered together. The word Bible means library. So in that little 66 books of the Bible, it's a library. 1,600 years. And 40 or more authors contributed to the writing of the Bible. I'm quite certain that any one of those authors at any given time might read the material of the other authors and say, well, we need to grow. Our understanding of God needs to be a little deeper, wider, stronger. We need to evolve. We need to grow more wise. And so over time, the Bible has evolved. The grasp of what God is presenting as truth didn't change. The truth didn't change, but human beings' grasp of it has necessarily changed. Now, I would ask you, in the next 100 years, what kind of evolution of our understanding of the Bible is going to happen? I have a purpose in that question because I want to end with the evolution of love. What will the next 100 years reveal? How much more will we finally evolve to see ourselves? Now catch me, listen carefully. To see ourselves in the bloody violence depicted in the Bible. Are we seeing in all that bloody violence of children being murdered by the people of God, by cattle and men and women and children being butchered by quote-unquote the command of God? Or in all that bloody violence, for instance, do we finally come to understand we see ourselves? We're not seeing God in that. God is not saying, hey, be a bloody monster. No. In fact, at some point in the process of all of that, in the Bible, the book of Isaiah and Micah and other places, it talks about prophesying when swords would be turned to plowshares. They'll learn war no more. Well, obviously, those prophets saw the need to evolve, didn't they? They saw the need for all these bloody wars that we were saying God told us to do. The prophets said, whoa, let's not just stay there, because that's monstrous. And we don't serve a monster God. We serve a God of love, who is not in it for destroying and warring and killing people to get his vengeance. So the prophets called for the evolution of beating swords into plowshares. Now, I'm going to just say this, and you may not like it. I'm not asking you to like it or love it. I'm just saying this is how I look at it. Swords being beaten into plowshares is not going to happen by magic. It ain't going to be abracadabra, sword become a reaping vessel. Now you sword, I want you to be a tractor. No, that's not how it happens. Not going to be magic. We will evolve, won't we? We will grow into something that we weren't before. And my purpose for today is to tell you, we will enter the evolution of love. Love is, I think, something that we all recognize. If you've been married for any length of time, you know your love had to grow. You know your love had to become something bigger, better, more significant, more mature. I've said here before, puppy love don't carry it when you're a full-grown dog. Listen, don't be a puppy lover. Be a full-grown dog, knowing what love really is. I enjoyed puppy love as a kid, but I'll tell you right now, puppy love doesn't carry the day when you've been married for half a century. You better be mature. You better have learned and evolved in your love. I know my wife and we've been at various stations of our understanding of our marital love in so many ways. Early in our marriage, it was the whole old-fashioned notion of I'm the husband, she's the wife, she has to... Excuse me. Sneezed and coughed at the same time there. I'm the husband, she's the wife, she's got to obey me, and she's got to submit. Well, over time, we had to grow up. And over time, we came to recognize that there was a mutuality of our relationship. Somebody will say, but the Bible says, wives, submit to your husbands. Yeah, well, the Bible also says, husbands, give your life as Christ died. Well, all right, then that means I need to go find a cross and die. See, that we're grasping at paper-thin values when we need to grow and evolve. To the love that I need in this point in my life as a 72-year-old man, I won't tell you how old Ginger is, because that wouldn't be appropriate to reveal a lady's age, 70. I'm not here to, hi Ginger, I love you. I'm not here to promote something that I called love when I was in my 20s as the head of the house. Ginger and I saw a movie one time. I forget what it was. But anyway, the lady said to her husband, this older lady said to her her husband of many years. She said, "You may be the head, but I'm the neck. I turn that head." You know, there's a lot of wisdom in that, and there's some evolution of understanding what the Bible's saying about women submitting to their husbands. And part of the evolution is, listen, folks, we don't live in that culture of 2,000 years ago. We don't live in that culture of a time when women weren't allowed to own anything, women weren't allowed to be anything, women weren't allowed. Listen, we're no longer living in that culture, and you can whine and pine about that all you want to, but it's time to grow up. It's time to evolve. So what I look at in the mutuality of the love that Ginger and I have grown to be in this stage of our life, we love more now than we've ever before, and we've survived so many challenges, but it caused an evolution of our love. And I'm asking you to consider the evolution of your love. Has your love grown any, or are you still in some stuck spot, even as it relates to your understanding of the Bible? I know people tell me all the time, "Now, Pastor Randy, you know, we have to love people and tell them the truth." There's that. Or we can't just love people. Well, I want to propose to you, yes, we can. But we had better have a love that has grown up. We had better have a love that is not demanding its own way, which is 1 Corinthians 13. Love doesn't demand its own way. Love is patient. So I can be a lover of humans, a lover of people who reject the Bible and still maintain a freedom of connection and friendship, be a love my neighbor if my neighbor doesn't believe the Bible, or in fact, if my neighbor thinks the Bible's just a bunch of hogwash. Well, I'm going to love that neighbor because the Bible has told me to love my neighbor. So that means I got to grow up. That means I've got to evolve, not my neighbor. See, that's where people say we can't just love, we got to tell them the truth. Well, here's my evolution about that. The truth that I tell people is lived truth as they get to see me being trustworthy, reliable, non-judgmental, non-condemning, not ready to send them straight to hell because they didn't say a magic prayer, or because they have other views of the wide world around them. Well, like evolution, they have a strict view of evolution. So listen, that doesn't make me nervous, because love is stronger than that. And in fact, if anything, I'll have a conversation with people, not to debate, but maybe I'll learn something. And if I'm going to learn something, then maybe the people that I'm learning something from would be willing to learn something from me. See, that's how love works. We've determined in some of our fundamentalist ideas that love is a stationary, stagnant thing. And we just got to tell everybody that, you got to say the magic prayer, and you got to do the 4 spiritual laws, and then if you die, you'll go to heaven. Or if you don't say those magic words, then you'll go to hell. Oy, oy, oy. The Bible that I treasure today is not a Bible that teaches that kind of retributive God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. You see, the Word wasn't a book. The Word was God, and the Word was Jesus. So now I live by the power of the life of Jesus. And I know the question is, well, then how do you know? How do you know who Jesus is? Well, Jesus told us, he promised us the Holy Spirit would teach us things to come that we couldn't at the time he was speaking it. Remember that? He said, I have many things to say to you, but you can't handle them. See, I wonder if that's still true. There's a lot of things Jesus would like to say, but we still can't handle it. And the only way we're going to be able to handle what he's saying is to evolve, to grow, to cling to Jesus, yes, but to not cling to some static, stationary, written in stone caricature of who he is. To look at Jesus with love, and to let Jesus look at me in love. And to know that when my life is held in love, my life is held in the secure work of the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. All right, let me wrap this up a little bit with some quotes. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. He was a French mystic, Franciscan priest in the Catholic Church in France in the late 1800s through about 1950. He said, listen to these words, "Someday, after we have mastered the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for the second time in the history of the world, humanity will have discovered fire." Woo, that's so powerful. Let me read it again. "Someday, after we have mastered the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for the second time in history, the history of the world, humanity will have discovered fire." Wow. Isn't that glorious? That we would discover again a history-making work that in primitive humanity, when fire was discovered as a tool for cooking, for warmth, when fire was channeled toward keeping a dwelling warm, channeled toward a stove of some kind, well, then food could be cooked. Listen, recipes 10 years prior to fire cooking our food, recipes became absolutely obsolete. So people had to evolve, didn't they? With fire. I'm proposing to you that with love, we're going to have to evolve. We're going to have to grow up, grow out, grow through the challenges of our day. We're in a time of enormous, divisive miseries, and war is still on the agenda even for some people of faith that say, well, sometimes God is the God of war. No. I have one answer, one word for that. No. God is a God of love who has proposed that weapons of war would be beaten into weapons of food production. Not weapons to kill, but machinery to plant and harvest. Oh, yeah. President Eisenhower warned after World War II that if we weren't careful, and we have not been careful, we would develop a machinery, an industry of defense, an industry of weapons of war, rather than focusing on growing methods of feeding the world. Eisenhower's onto something. Eisenhower read the prophets that the swords will be turned to plowshares. And I'm here to tell you that the only way that that's going to happen is that we discover the fire of love. Like Father Teilhard de Chardin said, that we would discover fire for the second time, and the fire would be the fire of love. That's going to require growing and evolving, and that's why I'm calling this episode the evolution of love. Growing up, not just in a lifetime, but over the centuries. What in 100 years from now? In 100 years from now, what will we know about the love of God? How much more will we finally evolve to see that all the bloody violence of the Bible was not a revelation of God, but it was a revelation of human behavior, and how we're invited, as Jesus told the disciples at his arrest, when they pulled for swords, he said, "Put your sword away." Well, let me bring this to a close with my usual methods of closure. And I want to invite you to know that unless we know how to breathe and be at peace, we're going to still be people who are interested in building weapons of war. So I want you to invite me to take a deep breath, would you? I've challenged you today, and I don't want you to be short-breathed. I want you to breathe deeply. You hear me occasionally clear my throat and cough. This dry air in the middle of winter really gets to me. But on the count of 3, take a deep breath, would you? 1, 2, 3. Inhale love. Exhale fear. Let's grow into the power of love. Let's remember that there are 3 magical, charmed, and beautiful words in the human language that translate more deeply and more deeply as we grow and evolve. So that when I have said when I was just a little boy in my early 20s, I told my wife, Ginger, I love you. It was a grand moment at our wedding altar. But I got to tell you, when she and I look at each other now and we say, I love you, those 3 magical words have evolved in something deeper and more powerful than we would have ever dreamed 50 years ago. Learn how to say those 3 words. Say them to your children. Say them to your spouse. Say them to your friends. Say them to your enemies. Say them to your neighbor. Say, I love you, with eye contact, with a real determination to communicate. It's startling. It's unnerving. It'll give you a sense of, oh boy, what am I doing? But it's so healing. Next thing I want to challenge you with is to know this. The biggest mistake we make is thinking we still have time. Be present. Be kind. Love more. Love now. Don't let tomorrow sneak up on you that you forgot to love today. Love more. Love now. Mother Teresa said, go into the world today and love the people you meet, every one of them, every single person you meet. Let your presence light new light in the hearts of others. Folks, listen, that's not going to happen with a snap of your fingers. And like I said about swords turning to plowshares, it's not going to be magic. It's going to be obedience on our part. It's going to be growing. It's going to be evolving. So that love is a bigger, more beautiful activity among us. And like Pierre I get stuck on his name. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin said, I would just call him Father Pierre. He said, and then for the second time in history, humanity will have discovered fire when we harness for God the energies of love. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that magnificent? Harnessing the energies of love. Not going to happen a day, not going to happen in a year, not going to happen in a decade. It'll take a lifetime of evolution. All right. I am so, again, honored that you gave me a half an hour of your life and time. It is important to me that you know that I'm sharing these as a 7-year project to date, these thoughts on love. I've been all over the map in talking about love. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a pilgrimage, not a one-day drive. It's a heavy lifting of life. And I've discovered if you're going to do any heavy lifting, that heavy lifting, excuse me, has to be evolved into. All right, that means I've got to work out a little bit, get my arms strong to do the heavy lifting. Grow with me, would you? Now go out there and do something beautiful. And it's New Year, 2026. Go out there and do something beautiful. Because, oh, baby, 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 ugly is getting done to death. It's time to evolve into the real, truest power of love. Thank you again for joining me. I'm Bishop Randy Dean, and I wish you a very happy New Year and happy trails.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. If you like the show, leave a comment on it. Or, even better, share it with your friends. And we'll see you on the next one.